Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I have my book review of the book Jedi Bounty by Kevin J. Anderson and Rebecca Mesta. One of the books in the Young Jedi Knights series that they wrote. They wrote 14 books in that series, and I believe this is the 9th. Or the 10th. This is the 10th book in that series. Had to do the math in my head. So I won't go into my reviews or discussions of the whole previous books that have come out. I'll just talk about this arc, which is the Diversity Alliance arc. You have the book Shards of Alderaan, which was a fine book. Not amazing. It was fine. Then you have Diversity Alliance, which I was blown away by. What? I didn't see the fun of this book or the heart that it had coming. I thought this was a brilliant book. Then you have Delusions of Grandeur, which honestly was a meh book. My nostalgia for it is a little bit higher than how I think it actually is. One of those books that's like a real filler book. You kind of end it where you start. And then you have Jedi Bounty, which is all about the Diversity Alliance itself. We've seen the Diversity Alliance do things and hunt people throughout, but now you get to go inside the Diversity Alliance in this book. This is the penultimate book of the arc, the final book, The Emperor's Plague. I'll be reading next month if I can get to it. And it's just a delightful series, but this is the darkest book in the series. By far the least humor of any of the books so far. And also, it has a dark undertone. So partially that's because our main characters are all in the Diversity Alliance headquarters on Ryloth. Basically, Lobaka, this is getting into minor spoilers at the end of the last book. Lobaka gets brought into the Diversity Alliance, and he's kind of duped into joining them. And so all the rest of the team decides to go in and try to rescue Lobaka from the Diversity Alliance headquarters on Ryloth. And as you would expect, hijinks ensue. And being such a short book, this is actually one of the fastest paced books like this I've ever read. Every chapter moves the plot along. Every single chapter is in a new location, is preparing you for the next thing. There's never a chapter that feels wasted. There's never a chapter that feels like it's there to pad the time. This is an efficient and effective book at getting everything done, which is a point in its favor. I will also say that this book has some great themes. The themes about what a totalitarian government can be like. You know, based off the artwork on the cover, you can kind of get a little bit of a Nazi vibe from the villains here from the Diversity Alliance, because the Nazis kind of felt slighted after World War I, and they wanted their power back. And in here, the aliens feel slighted after the Galactic Civil War, and they want their power back. And so they blame either the humans, who I think are good stand-ins for the Jews, or they blame anyone who allies themselves with the humans. So if you're an alien, even though you're one of the downtrodden, you're one of the people that the humans have attacked and have treated poorly. But if you defend the humans, we'll treat you like the humans. So they're not that. The aliens in here are not good characters. And it actually explores the themes about reparations. It explores themes about taking revenge. It explores themes of why maybe backlash isn't always the best thing. Like, having injustice is bad, but if you go too far in dealing with that injustice, you could create a new sense of injustice, if that makes sense. Like, instead of creating justice for the aliens, they create injustice for the humans, which is not right. There's a lot of complex themes in this book that I really thought were interesting and really, really good for kids to think about. And they aren't hitting you over the head. You have to think about them a little bit, but I think that the lessons in here are good for kids. However, there is one element in here that is not great for kids, and that's how dark the book gets. And the book gets super dark. In one of the sequences, they're describing what the Diversity Alliance does to people. And at one point, they describe one of the aliens who tried to escape and got captured by the Diversity Alliance, and the Diversity Alliance brought them back. And one of the members of the Diversity Alliance ate the alien in front of the rest of the Diversity Alliance. Like, they ate him in public, ate him live. And that's just a horrifying thing to read in a book. And it's a quick, little paragraph, they move on. But it's pretty dark for kids to get into. And it is an alien, so it's not like a human, but still there's like the threat there that, oh, maybe that they'll do that to the humans as well. So it gets a little dark there. And that's the type of thing that like I could see a major TV show for something do, or I could see maybe even like one of the live action Star Wars shows doing this. But this is like the animated series. This is something for kids. You have to be careful in the way you deal with things for kids. You can deal with war, battles, characters killing each other, but you want to be careful with how graphic and how explicit you can be. And unfortunately, that when I read that sequence, I was like when I've been reading these books, I'm like, oh, my kids at school would love these books. My kids would have a blast. And so I keep, thinking about bringing these books in for my students. But then when I read that sequence, I'm like, oh, I'm not sure I could recommend this particular book because of that. So there are some good elements and some bad elements in that sense. But I still think it's very entertaining. And I think adults who read Star Wars books really will enjoy this. It's a quick, knock it out in like 2 hours. 2-hour quick read. And it's got some references to like the Crystal Star and to some other Star Wars novels if you've read them. And is a good continuation of the overall series. Sometimes I critique some of the shorter Star Wars material, like the manga, for instance, because I feel like you're not getting enough bang for your buck. But because of how serialized the Young Jedi Knights series is, because of how cheap the books at least were when they came out, or how little I had to pay for them used, and then also when you think about how much character work and story you're getting here, I actually think these are very much well worth your money and your time. So I give this a 9 out of 10. Really good, really entertaining, just a little bit too dark for kids in moments, but still. And I read this as a kid. I was like 13 or 14 when I first read this book, and I'm now thinking I probably could handle it at 13 or 14, but this is more for like 10 to 12, and I'm not sure how 10 to 12-year-olds would handle it. But anyway, I still thought it was very enjoyable. So if you've read this book, let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below, and which Young Jedi Knights book is your favorite. Let me know that as well. And until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.